Emily here. I'm so glad you're on my channel. Today we're going to talk about some tips of how to be sensitive to the deaf and hard of hearing during this COVID maskageddon that we are facing. So if you're new to my channel, I have a moderate to severe bilateral sensory neural congenital hearing loss. And I have had this since I was born. It's genetic, hence the congenital term. And I have experienced the woes and joys and adventures of having a hearing loss. So we deaf and hard of hearing people have had our worlds turned upside down. Not just because of the whole pandemic and having to be quarantined, but because people wear masks and when we can't read lips, we don't know what they're saying. And it's frustrating because a lot of people don't understand why we can't hear them, why we can't understand them. Sometimes they react or respond rudely. And so I hope that this video will help increase awareness all around, not just for hearing people, but hard of hearing people as well. Realizing that we are all in a stressful time and we can get through this together. Since the masks have become so common in this day and age. I hope you're feeling really good today. I went on a run this morning and that just like, whoo! Made me feel so full of energy. So if you're not feeling good, if you're feeling down, just take a moment to do something that you would enjoy doing. Love yourself. If you already like what you've heard, please take a chance to hit the thumbs up and subscribe down below. I'm going to be making more great content and I want you to be the first one to hear about it. So ironically enough, deafness or hard of hearing or a hearing loss is considered to be an invisible challenge or difficulty. This means that people usually can't see it. They assume that we are just normal, typical hearing people, and so when we ask them to repeat themselves, I don't know what it is, but all of a sudden they just get super mad or don't want to repeat themselves because we put them out with some kind of inconvenience of something that we can't control. So I'm really hoping that the tips in this video will help people just give everyone a benefit of the doubt. If someone asks you to repeat yourself, they might not have a hearing loss. They might just be a hearing person that just did not understand what you were saying because your mouth was covered, or just because you were mumbling, or something like that. Regardless, yes, let's all come together. So today I'm going to just do 3 different sections: children, middle-aged people, and the elderly. And these are all based on personal experiences, whether they're mine or people I know. And I know that these tips will help you. I hope you stick around to the end of the video because if you do, 1, throughout the video, you're going to learn a bunch of good tips. And 2, throughout the video, you're going to learn some great tips as to how to either help yourself or those around you. So for the sake of being a better human being, please stick around to the end of this video so you don't miss out on the important information. So number 1, if you're a parent with a child that has hearing loss, and most likely if they are not homeschooled, they've been experiencing video chat school. Have they been paying attention? Has it been difficult for them? Has it been easy for them? How has it been? I just know that video conferencing, especially for young children, can be very difficult because if they cannot understand what they're hearing, they get fidgety. They don't want to sit there. They're wondering, why am I sitting here? I don't know what's going on. That was my childhood in a nutshell. Whether it was school or church or you name it, if I had to sit still, I most likely didn't know why, and I was looking around and wanting to play with things. One of my Sunday school teachers was like my saving grace, and she brought this fidget toy. I literally didn't realize that church was talking about, you know, saving grace and those things until I was like 3 years ago. I realized, oh, they talk about some great things here. But also even school, I would just show up and say, oh, that was due. Like I had several times in high school that I didn't know things were due. I didn't know if I was a forgetful person until I finally realized I just was not hearing. And I think that's really important to remember is a hard of hearing person, if they can't hear and understand what's going on, especially children, they're going to be fidgety. So tools that you can use to solve this as a parent are transcription tools such as Google Meets. Google Meets is awesome. It's free right now. It's just like Zoom, FaceTime, other video platforms, but there is a CC button in the bottom corner. Go ahead and click that and the words just scroll up. Now, if you have a child that is too young to read, I understand. Make sure that the teacher is engaging with the class. Engagement is really critical. Asking them questions, asking them to respond, and things like that will help immensely. You as a parent can also pull up transcription apps yourself if they cannot use Google Meet. Google Live, Google Transcribe, Ava, Otter AI. They are all great resources. Pull them out, test them out, find one that your child likes best. I just want to share, my mom didn't take many pictures of me in the classroom or in the church setting when I was little with my hearing aids, but I do have one picture, this one. You can totally tell I'm not paying attention. Fun fact, that's us on Capitol Hill in 2003 testifying and lobbying for the 2003 newborn hearing screening bill. I had probably just a sentence to say, but it was really hard for me to get through because I didn't understand what was going around because I just couldn't hear. You have this listening fatigue, and when you're young, it's really hard to keep up with. Okay, so if you are middle-aged and you have a hearing loss yourself, you've probably noticed it in the workplace with masks being required, whether you're going to the store or you work at the store or you work in an environment that requires masks. It's created a lot of issues, and I think that I've seen a lot of situations where people just respond in a rude, arrogant, insensitive way that, I mean, I've seen some results where people have said, "I'm sorry, I'm hard of hearing, can you please repeat that?" And people have responded just, "If you can't hear, why do you work here?" That is so wrong. That is so wrong. So here are some tips as to how to handle this appropriately. 1, you can stand up for it. Consider yourself, consider your demeanor ahead of time before you are confronted with such a situation. How would you want to handle a situation? Someone, when they respond in that way, it's going to hurt. Are you going to stand up for yourself? Are you going to say, "Hey, that's not nice," or "Hey, I know that you can do better than that," or "Hey, that hurt. I actually have a hearing loss. I wish that you would be more respectful. If this continues, I'm going to let HR know." If you feel that you don't feel comfortable confronting a person, then you need to make sure that you have the tools in place to be able to go to your boss or go to HR. Make sure that everything's properly reported in writing so that you have documents of these rude comments. HR only can implement discipline on documented accounts. So if you do talk to HR, I highly recommend doing email. Then there's a paper trail. I highly recommend notifying the boss as well. If someone does say something to you and you feel like you cannot or do not want to stand up for yourself, then I would definitely recommend emailing your boss, CCing in HR, and ask them, this just made me feel really uncomfortable, and are you going to talk to the person? Encourage them to take action. Just say, so-and-so said this, and it hurt, and it made me feel blank, and what do I need to do about this to fix it? And either they will respond, just don't worry, we'll take care of it. If it happens again, let us know. If they don't say that, you say, okay, if it happens again, I will let you know. You got to take initiative, stand up for yourself. If you can't stand up to the person, you need to stand up for yourself otherwise. And then the other step, they may say like, wow, that's totally unacceptable. Let's meet, all three of us, your boss, HR, and whoever that person was, so that standards can be set ahead of time. It's just totally unacceptable to say something rude to someone, especially when it's so personal as a hearing loss. So I hope that helped. If someone says something rude, stand up for yourself, or have an action plan to stand up for yourself. So everyone has unique situations, and being hard of hearing, whether we're hearing or hard of hearing, we can all work together. Masks are difficult for all of us. I think that is just the solid fact of the matter. I know when I wear a mask, I dislike that people can't see my smile. I feel like a robber walking around the store. And so I think regardless of whether or not we're hearing or hard of hearing, it's just the concept that we're all human. Let's just be kind to each other. And if someone needs help repeating or something like that, let's just repeat it. It's so much easier to repeat a sentence than hurt feelings. Okay, so the last segment is elderly people. The elderly are more susceptible to having hearing difficulties because their ears just don't work as well anymore. They've lived all those years, they've experienced all those sounds, and their body and their brains and their ears are just tired. So let's take a moment to recognize that and be patient with our elderly ones. These are unprecedented times. They have experienced so much in their lifetime, depending on how old they are. They've just gone through so much, and yet with coronavirus, these are unprecedented times with everyone wearing masks. And it seems so strange, and with generational differences, and if they have not taken the opportunity to become literate in technology, they are now feeling especially isolated. So my tips are, if an elderly one is having trouble hearing, simply face them and repeat what you're saying. Notice that loudness can help, but screaming at someone never ever does good for anyone. The best that you can do for your loved one who's elderly is, and this is what I do for my grandparents, is when I go over to visit them, we do not go inside, we stay 6 feet away, and we set up chairs, we make sure there's good lighting on the back porch, and we talk that way. And we talk slowly with good enunciation. We talk in a volume that they can hear, but not a volume that's so loud that we're screaming at them. There are certain tones in which raising the volume is beneficial, but once it gets too loud, it's just not possible to process. So just being patient with the elderly, understanding that there are just so many factors that come into the difficulty of understanding what's being said. So another thing that you can do is pay attention to their facial expressions and their responses. If they are not experiencing dementia and Alzheimer's, most likely they are experiencing hearing loss. If their facial expressions are not matching up, or their responses are not matching up, they're just not hearing what you said. So instead of just ignoring it, just go back and say, no, I'm so sorry. I asked, what is your favorite color? Like, my favorite color is purple. And they will say, oh, they get those 2 sentences to understand you're talking about color, not mothers, or something that sounds similar. And better yet, lastly, the best thing that you can do is just have them tell stories. They're in their golden years. They have great stories to tell. And most likely, you don't know all the stories. If you just want to take the hearing factor out of it, just simply just give them 1 sentence and say, will you tell me some stories about your childhood? Or will you tell me about the time that you married mom or your spouse or whatever that may be, to get them going on stories. And when they're talking to you, you can hear them. You don't have to worry about going back and forth. As they share their story, if you respond, talk at their pace, look active and engaged. And I can promise you that this will be a time where you will feel happy too. And you'll get to relive those stories and be in awe of what your loved one has gone through. So as I said, COVID-19 has brought all of our worlds, hearing, hard of hearing, everyone. And if we give each other ultimately a benefit of the doubt, realizing that we're all having difficulty hearing and understanding right now, just go into it with mindset of repeating yourself. Just know that there are tools available such as Google Transcribe, Google Live, Otter AI. There are just so many transcription tools that can help. And then just being patient, just realizing we're all going through a difficult time and giving everyone a benefit of the doubt. So I'm so glad you stuck around to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give this video a thumbs up if you learned something new. Share in the comments below something that you learned or where you're listening to this video from. I want to see where you're all from. I hope this helped you. I hope that you can use these tips to help others and that we can increase awareness for all of those struggling to communicate during this time. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can enjoy some other great videos as well. This is Emily. I hope you have a great day. Signing out. Bye.